Hey guys, this is Mr. Crocker. This is a video on how to make this rack twice as long. So I've brought it in as an STL. An STL is just a whole bunch of triangles. So if you look down in here, you can see there's like millions of tiny triangles that the whole thing is made out of. It's not like an editable solid thingy. So in order to convert it into an editable solid thingy, I need to switch from sculpt mode to model mode. And then I need to make sure I have design history turned off, which I do. So I don't need to click this. And then I go into bodies. I select this mesh body and I say mesh to brep. And what this does is it converts all those triangles into an editable solid thingy. Takes a second. There's a lot of triangles. Oh yeah, for all those little teeth, it's got to go through all of that. Okay, so now it should be done converting. Oh, not quite. All right, so now it's gone from blue to black. See how that is? So, and no longer the mesh body, but now this body is selected or is selectable. And so now what I can do is, I think the simplest thing is to cut the end off and then flip it around and overlap it, and I'll use a tooth to overlap it. So to do that, I'm going to do create box, and basically down here, I'm going to do it on this plane, and then I'm going to do down here like that, and just cut. Oh, I should have done it from the top view. Let me see if I can switch. Yeah, okay. So what I want to do is make my box. So I started my box over there, and I want to go to about here. Okay, and then I want to make sure that I'm cutting all of the tooth thing, all of the rack. So I'm going to stretch this up, and then it'll show me a preview of that, and then I'll boom. Okay. Ooh. Now one thing I should have done, I'm going to undo that. So I should have turned Capture Design History back on, because one of the things that makes Fusion 360 super cool is that you can roll back in the design history and then roll back forward. It's really handy. I'm going to see if I can redo. No, I can't. Okay. So I'm going to do my create box on this plane. I'm going to start down here. I'm going to go to top view. I'm going to cut it all the way to here. I'm going to go home so I can see the angle. And then I'm going to stretch this up so it cuts all the way through the thing. And then I'm going to hit OK. And it'll add a new step down here in the design history. See that? So now I'm going to make a copy of this thing. What's the easiest way to do this? Copy. And then I think I can do this with a simple paste. Oh, and again, it's got all these faces and triangles and stuff, so it takes a little while to make a copy of it. But I'll see over here body 1, and then there'll be body 2. Now those two are related in some way, and I never quite understand all that stuff. I'm going to rotate this thing 180 degrees. Come on. You can see that Mr. Crocker needs a new Mac, can't you? You should tell Mrs. Crocker that. And actually, so if it's annoying, you can just type 180 in here, right? And then I'm going to move it with this arrow down this way. Yeah, these things are super hard to work with because there's all those triangles. Okay. There's a clever way to do this. I think what I want to do is move this corner right here. So I'm going to do this move point to point. And I'm going to move this triangle or this corner right here. Let me see. So I'm going to move this corner right there. You have to make sure you're not selecting the line or any of that. I want exactly just that corner. And I want to move it to here. And that should get everything lined up really nicely. Now the only thing that won't be lined up then is the teeth. Oh, there it goes. So now I got that. I'm going to do a top view. And what I'm kind of looking for here is how far off are the teeth? And actually, maybe a side view would be better. Yeah, let me do side. So I'll go here, the front view. And yeah, see how it's crazy? And it's like big tooth, and then crazy tiny tooth? Okay, so that's not good. Let me do a free move. So I'm going to switch to this kind of move instead. And then once the arrow comes up, man, this may be so slow. It's going to really be awful, but let me see if I can drag it. So I'm going to pull this guy, and what I basically want to do is just make it fit the curve. I zoomed in a little bit. Oh yeah, there we go. So that fits really well. I moved it over -30 millimeters. So I'm gonna hit OK. And now I've got a thing that's twice as long as the original. Roughly, it might be like one tooth shorter, but yeah, okay, cool. So what I like to do at this point is I like to combine these two bodies. And the reason for that is there's a little seam right between them. And when you 3D print it, sometimes the seam will do goofy stuff. So I'm gonna do modify and then combine. And I want to join both of those, and I'm going to not make a new component, and I don't need to keep the tools, so I'm going to let it merge the two bodies and just hit OK. And then once it's done, you'll just have one body there, and then you can export that as an STL and 3D print it. And it's got those same end things on it. Now the nice thing about the design history is you could go back in the design history, you could drill holes in the original part, and then go forward in the design history, and the holes would be there in your duplicate part. So it's pretty cool. All right, I hope this helps.